Good everyone, my name is Graphics. Today we want to learn specifically on how to draw isometric cycle. Now let's assume we have a circle of diameter 50 and we are told to draw the circle in isometric. So what you do is that you are going to take your set square and your t-square, right? And place your t-square this way and your set square this way. You draw your horizontal line, your line inclined at 30, because this is angle is at angle 30, and I'll turn it this way, right? And I'll do the other aspect also. From here to here is another one, right? Now this is where they meet, right? I can at that point draw a vertical line. A vertical what? A vertical line. So we are told the circle is what? Angle as at 50 millimeter diameter, right? So on my meter rule, I'm going to measure 50, depending on my direction. So 50 millimeter. So from here to here is 50, right? Now I'm going to place it at this point, right? And I'll mark up and I'll mark down, right? So it can be in any wing, right? So I will just place my set square, my t-square, and I am going to draw my vertical line at that point. So at this point also, the only way I must draw a line that is parallel to this, and the only way I can achieve that is by using my set square. So I'm going to place it, I will move it, slide it to that point, and I'm going to draw this. Now this is what I have here, right? So to make things easier, I'm going to draw a diagonal, but before the diagonal, I need the half of the vertical, and I also need the half distance of what? The horizontal. So I'm going to set from here to here is 50. So I'm going to measure 25. So half of 50 is what? 25. So if I place my compass at this point, I'll get 25, right? This 25 here, and I'll place it at this beginning here, and I'll mark 25, right? Mark 25. I also mark 25. So with the help, the next thing is with the help of my t-square and set square, I'm going to place it here and draw a vertical line. From that point I measure 25, and I also do the same thing here also. From the point I measure 25. Now what do you notice? We'll have a new center line, right? So let me zoom it up a little bit. This is our center line that we have here now. Now the next thing you do is, if you notice, from here to here is shorter than from here to here, right? It's shorter. So what I will do, I will join the longer side. I will join the longer side. So connect the longer side. Now if I connect it to passing through the center, must pass through the center here, right? Now after you've done that, I will take this point to be my x-axis, right? And I'll take this point to be my y-axis. So this is y and this is what? X. Now if I take any of these points I like, so I'll use my rule, and from this point that I did not join, I will move it to my x axis, the end of my x axis here. Now draw this way, right? And I also move it from that same point to my y axis too. So vice versa can be the case. I can start from here also. I can move it to my y axis, I can move it to my x axis. I'll have the same thing, right? So where it intersects, with my diagonal will be my point. Now what I will do is, from this distance here, from the center here, you can see that I will gauge my compass to the end here. You can see that, and I'm going to draw my what? My arc. Is that taken? I'm going to draw what? My arc. So I'll draw something like this. Now watch what I'm going to do. Draw this way. You can see that? So this is what I'm going to do. That's the first step. The second step, I'll go to the other point also, and I'll do the same thing also. I'll place it here, and I'll gauge it to this point, and to this point also. That. You must ensure that the end of here is touching the end of here. Here is touching here. This is what you must ensure. Right, so if I do that, I will have this. So I have here. Now after you've done that, you place at this end here, like this, and you take it to this other end here, like this. So you connect it to this point here. So you'll be having something like this. You can see that, and I'll do the same thing. I'll turn the other aspect to this point, and I'll join from here to this here, right? This is what we'll be having. Is that okay? So this is how we draw my isometric circle. Isometric circle in the circle in isometric is an ellipse, right? Why now? So the next thing we'll do, we've already drawn, this is diameter of what? 50, right? So now let's now assume that we have something like this. We can also repeat the same feat at the other wing here. You can also do the same thing here, depending on where you want it to face. I can say, okay, I want my 50 that I measured here, right, to be at this wing, depending on where it is facing, to be situated here, and the same height, right? So I will repeat the same feat. To the same feat, I'm going to repeat this. Let's do this again. I'll come at this point, right, and I'm going to take it up this way. So if I take it up, I'll take it up from here. I'm going to slide it up. Right, so sliding it up, I'm having this, right, and I'll use my set square. Since I use this to do this way, I'll turn it this way and to get it this way. And I'm having this. Is that again? Now the same thing will happen. I need the center line of it. So we know that half of it is 25, and we already measured from here to here to be 25, right? So the same measurement, I can just mark 25 here. So I will join them together. So in joining them together, with the help of my set square and t square, I'll project this point to this point. And with the help of my set square also, I'll draw the vertical line also. Can you see that? So if you look like we've seen this shape before. From here to here is shorter than from here to here. So I'm going to use my diagonal, and I'm going to join from here to here. I mean from here to here, sorry. Can see that? So I'm going to draw this way. Now this is passed through the center. Now this will now be my my y-axis, right? And this side is like my what? My x-axis. Alright? So let's see. That is like my x-axis. So from here, in achieving that height, so this is like my what? My y-axis here, my x-axis, sorry. So what I'll do is this. I'll draw a line from this point. If I choose not to use this point, I'll use this point, any of them. So I can draw a line from this point here and get to this point here. You can see that? From this point to y, and from this point here to what? To x. Is it that? See? So we had this. So now what do you notice? They're meeting at these 2 points here. So if I want to connect them with the help of my compass, I'll put it at this end here, right? And now repeat the same feat from this end to this end here. And I'm going to have this. Right? I'm going to have this. Let me adjust that very well. You can see that. The same thing too, I'll place it here. I'll do the same thing also. I'm going to have this. You can see that. Now from here to place it here, and I'll adjust it to this end here. So you must always gauge to end here, right? So I'll get this. Again, from here also to this point, I'll place it here, and I'm going to get this. So this is what we have. So depending on where you want it to face. If I want to choose, I can place it on top of it also, right? If I want to, I can place it on top of it also. So now from here, let's see. So let's move there. So let's go there, back. So now this is what we have. If I choose to, I can try to place another one on his point here. So how would I do that? You say that isometric is, you must use your 30-degree set square to draw. At least it must be inclined at an angle 30 degree. So if I place it on my t-square, I'll take it to this point, right? So I must ensure the line I'm drawing here must be parallel to this line. So I'll place it here, and I'll draw this, right? Then I'll turn it the other way around too. I'll place it on it also. Then I'll join it also to this point. Now, can you notice? This is another point again they have met. And this look the longer part of it. So what I'll just do, I'll just join the longer diagonal. That is the longer diagonal, right? So we're already safe from the stress of remeasuring, because we know that from here to here is 50 and this is half of it, right? Also from here to here is 50, this is half of it. So I can just use my set square also, and I'll just measure, take it to this point. I'll turn it, I'll just measure, take it to this point. Right? It must always pass through the center. So this is what we have here. Now the same thing, I can try to draw the points from, because these two points are free. I can try to draw from here to this. From here, let's say this is our this now is like our y-axis, just these two axes here. So I'll draw a point that will from here touch here, from here touch here, and I'll draw another one from this point to touch here. To this way they are meeting. Don't forget, if I choose to draw from here, I will still have the same output. So if I draw from here to touch here, what do you notice? They're intersecting, right? So anyone here is your choice. If I draw from here to touch here, to have the same output, they're intersecting. So you can only just take one to save you the time and the stress. So I'll just repeat the same feat from this point. If I place it here, taking the distance of this from this point to this point, right? Then if I do that, I'll gauge it and see if I'll get what I want to get. I'll be having this. Can I see that? I'll have this. Also, if I place it here too, at this point, I'll gauge it from here to this point here, and I'll have the same output. The same output. The same what? Output. Can you see that? If I decide to, from this point to place to one of these points, and I'll have the same output. Right? So this is what we have here, sorry. What we have here. And I can do the same thing too, from this point. I'll have the same output. From this point to this point. So, what we have here. Now, that is how you draw your isometric circle, right? So now let's see a more technical question and see how we can do this. So let's see how we can do this. So from here, what we'll be drawing isometric now will be this shape here. Now if you look at that shape very well, we will discover that the top here has a circle which has a radius of what? 15. Let's put it that way, radius 15. And the height from the base of the circle, from the base to the height to the top here to the apex is 70. Right? And also the base has a radius of what? 30. Now I want to reproduce this figure in isometric. Now look at how I am going to start to do that. Since we've had that it is in isometric, the first thing we should do is to draw our axis, right? You can help with this. You just place your horizontal line as a point of what? Reference. Then you take your vertical line, right, at this point here. Is that taken? So where they meet at this point here, that is where point 0, that is where your inclination will start from, right? So we'll start inclining from here. Oh, with your t-square placed on your t-square, we are going to draw an inclined line this way. You can see that, and you just move it this direction. See, I'm turning it upside down to this point, and you do the same thing at this point too. You can see that. So now we have the angle between here and here is 30, and the angle between here and here is 30. Now if you look at our structure here, the height is what? 70. So you are going to measure an height of what? An height of 70. So let's do that, an height of 70. So from here to this point is 70. So it's 7 here, and this is 0 here. From 0 to 7 is what? 70. Can you see that? So we're stopping here. Now the next thing is the base, the total base, because the circle at the base is bigger than the circle at the top here. So at the base we have a radius of what? 30, right? So radius of 30 means the diameter will be what? 60. So whenever I see arrow, multiply 2 by that value of the arrow here to give you the diameter. So 2 times 30 is 60. So it means that what? I'm going to measure 60 at this point here. Right? Because in isometric, the circle, you must use a cube or a square to draw a circle. Right? So from here to here is what? Is 60. Now the same 60 and all around, both the width and the height, the width and the length must be 60. So if here is 60, the other aspect to here will also be what? 60. So that's what I'm marking. I'm taking the radius here 60 and I'm marking it at this point here. Now in doing that, I've gotten the entire base of a shape here, and I will now draw the height. I will elongate this to go up, and I'll come here also. I will elongate this also to go up. You can see that. Now at this point here is like this point here, right? So I'll just take my set square to that point. Let's assume this is also my what? My baseline there. I'll just draw it small this way. You can see that. So what I did here, this is another 0.0 here also. I'll come and do it here too. I'll cover here up. You can see that. And I'll also cover here up too. You can see that, right? So what I did at the base, I am doing it at the apex too. Now what do you notice? At this point you see, I'll draw a line parallel to this. So if I use 30 to draw here, I also use the same thing now. Watch what I want to do here. Watch what I want to do here. At this point here, I use this. See, this is parallel to this, right? And I'm going to do the same thing at this point too, to the next point here. So I'll just draw this. I'll do that too at this point. So let me show you what I'm actually doing there. Can you see that? So this line is parallel to this. So in doing that, I'm going to draw a line that is parallel to this. So I will use something like this. So I'll draw another parallel line. So if I use this to draw this from this point, I'm going to project it to this point also, to draw the other one too from here to close it up. You can see that? So from here, this is what we actually have, right? So I'm doing that now. We successfully brought out this shape, right? We successfully brought out the shape, which is this. So the next thing we want to do is at the base here. Look at the base of our figure here. At the base here, you see the radius is what? Is 30, so diameter is 60. So I'm going to complete the circle here. So let me complete that box here. So since I have this here, since I use my set square to draw this here, right? I will extend it to this point. And I'm going to draw this. You can see that. I also do the same thing here too. Since I use this to do this, I'm going to move it to this point here. So I'll be able to close it up. Now what do you notice? I have closed the base. Just this base here, I've closed it down. So the next thing I'll do is what I did earlier. I'll take half of, from here to here, we'll say it is 60, right? I'll take half of 60. Place the half here, and I'm measuring, this is 30, half of 60 is 30, right? And I'll place it at this point. I'll mark left and I'll mark right, so I'll join those points together. So using my set square this way, I'll move it to this point. Now let's join here with my faint line. I'll turn it again. I'll do the same thing at this point too. I'll just join here with my faint line. So I have gotten a center. Where they meet, this is my center here, right? So I'll take my rule. I'm going to connect this end point and this end point because it is longer, like I said earlier. So in doing that, I'll have this. So this is the center point here, right? So any of these two, I can choose to use this point here, right? And I'll connect it to this point, as I explained. So doing that, I'll have this with my faint line. I'll do the same thing from this point too. I'll have this faint line. Now this is where both of them are meeting. So with the help of my compass, right, I will just draw this. Now from in here, if I connect here, it should just be faint lines first of all. Faint line. Then here also, if I should connect here also, this point too should be faint line first of all, because I'm still constructing. And here also, from this point, if I connect this, it should also be what? Faint line. And this point too, if I connect it to this point, it should also be what? Faint line. Right? I'm using faint line first, because if you notice it at the back here, nothing is shown here. It means at the back at this point, there's what? There's hidden line. So that's why I'm just using my faint line first. Now I'm done with the base. Now I want to go to the top. Now let's go to the top and see what is going to happen there. So at the top, we have a new challenge there. And the challenge we have is that the radius at the top is what? Is 15, just like you can see here, it's 15. So if I multiply it by 2, I'll have the diameter, which is 30. So for me to draw my diameter 30, I'll help myself, first of all, by locating the center of this shape here to get the center. So an easy way how to get the center is to draw the diagonal of those points. Instead of wasting time to start getting the center, just draw the diagonal of all those points. Like this is the diagonal, that again, and this is another diagonal here, right? You can see that. So this is the center. So with the help of my t-square and set-square, if I move it to this point, passing through the center, I'm going to have this will be the center here. I will turn it the other way around. I'm going to pass, this will be another center here. So with that diagonal, I've easily gotten the center of that figure. So this is the center. So what I'm really focusing on is this line and this line. I don't have business with this, so I'll just clean it up. I don't really have business with this one here, so let me clean it up. Yes, so that it will not confuse you. So now we were told earlier that the radius of this is what? 15, just like it was interpreted here. Just like it was interpreted here. The radius is what? 15, right? So I will measure 15 on my meter rule. Measure this on my meter rule from here, right? So place it here, 15, right? This 15, and I'll come at the center here. I'm going to mark vertical here. I'll mark horizontal here. I'll mark horizontal here also. I'll do it in the 4 cardinal points here, and also here too. So these are the points I have. All these points, right? So the next thing I'll do is to use my set square and my t square, right? And I'm going to get this. And I'm going to get this. At this point, now I use this set square to get this line here. So to ensure I have a parallel line too, I'll move it on my t square, and I'll go to that point. I'll draw an horizontal line touching this. Just draw a horizontal line this way, but must not touch this main figure here. I'll move to the next one too here. I'll do the same thing to draw this. You can see that. Now the next thing I'll do, I'm going to turn it the other way around like this. So you know this is another parallel line I drew. So with this, I'll move it again to the next one. But now I'll move from here to touch here. So touch these two lines that I drew. I'll move from here, touch here. right? So to touch this two line I drew. Now this is what I have here. I've gotten my 4 points, right? So I'll do the same thing just like I did earlier. So this side I'll draw a line from this end point. If I like, I can use from here also. I'll just draw to touch here. You can see that. Also from here, draw to touch here. You see, just like what I've been doing since morning. So this is where they are meeting, and this is where they are meeting. So I'll draw my circle. Now the circle I'll draw is, I'll place it at this point here, right? And I'll draw my my arc here. That taking. I'll draw my arc here. I'll thicken it because it is very visible. You can see that. Then I'll come to the other point here also. I'll do the same thing from here to this point here, right? So let's do that and see. From here to this point, you must always gauge them so that you will not make mistake. You can see that. Now the next one is, I'll place it here also, from this point to this point, and I'll gauge it to this point. So I have this, and I'll place it here also, from this point. I'll gauge it to this point. So you must always gauge it to avoid you from making what? Making mistakes, right? So let's do that. See, I've gotten the top base here, which is this top base here. You can see that I've gotten this. Now what will I do? This is where it matters now. This is where it matters. Now I will join from this diagonal point where the circle meets at this point to this point here, right? So I'll just take this and I'll join it. You can see that. And also from this point to this point here too. I'll do that. You can see that. Now what will I now do? I will not thicken all this point I have here. So in thickening this point, I'll be having things like this. And I'll have this like this. And I'll have this like this. So this is what we have. So I have successfully reproduced this shape here, and I've gotten it here. So this is the power of what? Of isometric circle. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.